Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Tonight, we're going to talk about everything to do with adrenals. We all have them. Some of them are probably more tired than others. And I don't know about you, but I know there have been times in my life where mine have been really, really tired. And when they're really tired, we really feel it. We feel the effects of it pretty fast. So what are adrenal glands? Because we don't talk about adrenals very much. They're a part of the endocrine system, and they're small little glands, little organs that sit on top of the kidneys. So they're on our back, one on each side, because one on each kidney, kind of at the middle of the back, just under the ribs, and about an inch away from the side of the spine, an inch away from the spine. So that gives you an idea where they are. And we just, again, we don't think about them. When we talk about endocrine or we think about endocrine, we always think about thyroid, don't we? Everybody, we just all say, if someone says, what do you think about endocrine wise? It's always the thyroid, but the adrenals are extremely important as well. So their main function is to maintain and boost the energy level for our bodies. So they produce corticosteroid hormones. So really, important, we need those. To achieve this, they have to have a lot of B vitamins. So we have to support them with B vitamins and trace minerals. Now, remember, the body doesn't create those, so we have to provide those in food. And it's becoming more and more difficult to get everything we need from food, right? For all the reasons, everything that happens to our food, everything from poor soil content, the soil isn't rotated, and all the things that need to happen so that the food is good and healthy and gets the proper nutrients, to all the chemicals, and then all the treatments, everything that happens to our food after it is harvested and before it gets to us. So we just don't typically get enough nutrients from our diet, even when we attempt to do that very, very well. When we have a lot of stress, that adds to the depletion of nutrients in our body, and it puts an extra strain on the adrenals. The adrenals actually feel that first before any other, pretty much any other body organ or gland. So one of the most common causes of poor adrenal function is truly a lack of minerals. So minerals are not, they're not only necessary to help manufacture the hormones that come from the adrenals, but they also are cofactors in producing liver enzymes. And the liver enzymes are necessary to digest fats that we need for building blocks for those adrenal hormones. So we've got to have good fats, we've got to have the enzymes, we've got to have all of it so that everything works together cohesively. Now, stress is a huge component of taxing our adrenals. So if you know that you're continually under a lot of stress, it's just a given that the adrenals are going to be tired. What happens is the amygdala, that's the part of the brain where our emotions and our memories and things are stored, sends a distress signal. When we're stressed out, it sends this distress signal, this SOS, Mayday, and the hypothalamus activates our sympathetic nervous system by sending signals through the autonomic nerves to the adrenal glands. So all of these things are happening. We don't think about it. We don't control it. The body just does it. These are the things that happen. Then the adrenal glands respond by pumping the hormone epinephrine, also known as adrenaline, into our bloodstream. So when we are in what we would call fight or flight for a long period of time, you can see now why that takes a toll on our adrenals, right? God created our bodies to make that extra adrenaline. If a bear is chasing us, we need that, right? But a bear we shouldn't be running from a bear 24/7. Like that just shouldn't be happening. So the body wasn't created to stay in that state for any length of time. But unfortunately, in modern times, it seems like a lot of people are there. So when we know of people having things like PTSD, they are stuck in fight or flight, and their adrenals are very, very tired. So let me give you Oh, one other thing that happens that's really important to us is that cortisol is also produced by the adrenal glands. And cortisol is known as the death hormone. So yes, we do need some, but if we stay in that fight or flight situation for too long, the body produces too much cortisol, and that's very detrimental to our health. So let's talk about some signs that our adrenals might need some extra love and support. If we're that type A personality, always on the go, always, here and there and everywhere all at once, that could be a sign. If we have a hard time falling asleep, if it's really difficult for us to get going in the mornings, when we get up, it's just hard, maybe we have to have a talk with ourselves to even get out of bed. If we get really, wound up, keyed up, and we have trouble chilling out and calming back down, that could be a sign that the adrenals are tired. If our blood pressure is too high or it's too low, remember those adrenal glands sit on top of the kidneys, and remember the kidneys are so important for regulating blood pressure. If we just feel jittery, wired all the time, and for no reason, we're not drinking coffee all day and having a lot of caffeine, but we just have that feeling, could be a sign that our adrenals need some love. If we crave salty foods a lot, that's another sign. This one might surprise you because when I first learned it, it surprised me. Asthma, wheezing, or difficulty breathing might be a sign that the adrenals are tired. Allergies or hives also could be a sign that the adrenals need some love. If we get anxious really easily, if it doesn't take very much to set us off, another sign. If we begin to feel tired after a small amount of physical work, exertion, we're even taking a brisk walk and things like that, that can be another sign. If we get a headache when we exercise, another telltale sign. If we feel fatigued chronically, like that means all the time, if we always are feeling fatigued, or we get sleepy often throughout the day, those are all signs that we may have really tired adrenals, and we need to show them some love. So if you only have one or two, that may not be the case, but if you have 4 or 5 or more of those, I would say it would be a good idea to really love on those adrenals. So with everything that we experience physically, there is always an emotional component to that. So we would be remiss in not mentioning those emotional factors that play into our adrenals and how well they function, or how well or not. And the first one is fear. So if we find that we are a fearful person, we probably are taxing our adrenals, because that again can cause us to go into flight or fight, right? How about anxiety? We mentioned that before. So if that is a telltale emotional component. If we feel defeated, if we experience a lot of jealousy, if we're jealous of situations or people or circumstances, if we're a manipulator, that can be a sign of adrenal issues. If we just feel like we're constantly struggling, things are come difficult for us, we're in a constant struggle. I think this is a real common one today, especially after what we experienced in the last couple of years in our country or in our world, being a victim, feeling like a victim. And then one that we can probably all relate to at some point in our lives is being weary, just feeling weary. So if you experience, 3 or more of those, then you probably want to take a look at your adrenals, whether you're seeing those physical signs yet or not, because the emotional factors are going to come first, and then we're going to see the physical manifestations come a little bit later. So we see the importance of the adrenals. We see some components, emotional components that play into whether or not our adrenals are healthy. And we saw some telltale signs that we may need to spend some extra time focused on our adrenals. So what can we do about that? If we fall into those categories of, geez, Louise, I need to do something here. My adrenals obviously need some help, because I don't know, anyone experience stress today? Any kind of stress? If you did, your adrenals felt it, right? And I bet you we all experience stress at some point today. And some of us probably a lot more of our day was took up with, was stressful than others. One of the very first things that I always think about, because we know the adrenals have to have them, are B vitamins. And Super B is a complex of all the B vitamins. And when we take B vitamins, we need to take them all together. They are made to work synergistically in our body. If we're just taking one or two, they don't work as well. Now, if we've had, some testing done and we know by lab work that we're deficient in something or other, then yes, we may supplement more with that, but we still need that complex. And Super B does a great job of that. And remember, the body's not making the B vitamins, and we need the B vitamins to keep the adrenals happy and relaxed and calm, so that they're not creating too much cortisol. Because remember, cortisol, we don't want too much of that. The next thing is, we know that minerals, trace minerals, are really, really important to keep the adrenals happy. So mineral essence is really important, and it's a great way to provide support. Now, I'm just going to tell you guys right up front, if you haven't tried it, first of all, it's powerful. My brain loves it. I have so much focus and clarity when I'm taking it. And if I happen to travel and not have it for a few days, I can really, really tell a difference. But it doesn't taste so good. So we've got a couple of options. We have a few options, actually. I personally drop mine into Ningxia and just do it. That goes into my first shot of Ningxia of the day, because I always start my day with Ningxia Red, because it's such a powerful antioxidant. And I put my mineral essence there. If you don't want to do that, you can encapsulate it. Another way is you could actually put it topically on your skin. I know that it's going to work well, but I don't think it's going to work as well as us taking it internally. Okay, just for those processes. But we need it. And the thing is, most people are deficient in minerals. It's crazy how many people are deficient in minerals. The next thing that I think about and a go-to for adrenal support is actually something called Thyromin. So we would think of thyroid typically, right, just by the name. But the truth is, Thyromin can support both the thyroid and the adrenals. So that's really cool. Now, a really great way to take that for adrenals is first thing in the morning. And we want to support the thyroid, take it right before bedtime. So could we do both? Absolutely. And you know what, you guys, if our thyroid is tired, our adrenals are probably tired, and vice versa. So we probably need to be supporting and loving on them a little extra on both of them, when one or the other. But it's got some great nutritional supplements in it that are wonderful to just nourish the endocrine system, the glands and the endocrine system, especially the thyroid and the adrenals. Now, we talked about when we have too much stress, that the body pumps out too much cortisol, right? And we don't want that. There are all kinds of things, you guys can Google it. There are all kinds of things that can happen when we have too much cortisol in our body. So Cortistop, you can tell by the name, right? Cortistop is designed to regulate the production of cortisol, which again is known as the death hormone. We just don't want that. And it helps to maintain balance with other hormones. And it does have some DHEA in it. And we need DHEA to help the body to regenerate. And it works for anti-aging properties. It's great for cellular health and things like that. So take a look at DHEA, go check into that and see if that's something that you think you might benefit from. We're not going to go into that too much tonight, but those are some supplements that are really supportive to use. Now, I brought with me a couple of things that I like to use also. This is energy. It is a phenomenal blend, and Gary Young created this for the adrenals and for just what it says, energy. So what do I do with it? Personally, every morning before I get dressed and I'm off for the day, I put this right over my adrenals. So I'm putting it on my back, 2 or 3 drops, and just rubbing it around. So don't get real caught up on, am I getting the exact location it's going to get there? Okay, so just on the back, remember kind of the middle of the back, rubbing this. And I just put 2 or 3 drops on each side. So over each kidney and each adrenal. This stuff is amazing. I also like to huff it a little bit because it kind of just wakes everything up, right? Energy, that's the name of the blend. So that's what it does. Another great thing to do is just, I put it across the back of my neck, kind of brainstem and just the back of my neck, especially if I'm feeling, oh, you know, kind of dragging and just feeling a little out of sorts and maybe not focusing as much as I would like to. I do that during the day. Now, I also put this on at night, not because I need energy at night before I go to bed, but because I want to nourish my adrenals. All right. And if you use this at night and it happens to give you too much energy, that's okay. We've got some other choices and I'm going to talk about those next. Endoflex. You can tell by the name, this is a great support for the endocrine system, all of the endocrine system. Now, I happen to grab here at my desk, I have my regular bottle, not my Vitality with the white label. I've got nutmeg in a Vitality bottle. So if this Endoflex were in a Vitality bottle, I would be dropping it under my tongue. So I love to also start my day with 2 or 3 drops under my tongue. The reason for that is I'm lazy, number one. Number two is it gets into my system really quick. And so it will begin working in the body pretty fast. You can also drop it into capsules or into your Ningxia. And again, I have the regular that we could put on topically. The Vitality I put under my tongue or, you know, in my Ningxia or capsules or something. Now, this is also great to put right here, right over the throat, right over the thyroid. Great, great thing to do. And also over the adrenals. Now, if you've got kiddos in your house, they can use this stuff. How about those 2-year-olds that throw temper tantrums? This is a tantrum tamer. Get this oil on them because you know what? They get stressed out too. They get anxious too. So put this on them and just see what happens. It's phenomenal. I already mentioned nutmeg. Nutmeg is known to be a wonderful partner for our adrenals. So putting it on topically, this is the Vitality, but putting it on topically and or putting it under your tongue in some Ningxia or in capsules is a great way to get it into the body or on the body to use. It's got adrenaline-like activity that helps to increase our energy, as does the Endoflex and the energy. So blend. So you might say, well, gee, which one should I use? I don't know. We're all different. So you try them and you see what works for you. And I'm going to be honest with you, I rotate through oils. You know, I may use Endoflex for a few weeks, and then I may use energy for a few weeks. I'm loving energy right now. Like I'm really, really loving it. But Endoflex under my tongue, I love it that way. I've been putting nutmeg on my, you know, topically on my thyroid. Another one that I don't have here at my desk is Grand Fir. We also know it as balsam fir. So that oil is phenomenal. It's very calming and it helps to regulate the production of some of the hormones in the body and therefore like reducing some of the cortisol, things like that. So getting that on the body as well and you can put it right over the adrenals. If you don't know, if you're not comfortable doing that, if you're new to using oils, put them on the bottom of your feet. You put it on the bottom of your feet, it's still going to move through the body and it's going to go where it needs to go and it's going to do what it needs to do. Okay. So we talked about emotions and how those emotions that will affect the adrenals. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention some oils to help with emotions, right? Particularly when we're talking about the adrenal glands. Hope is my favorite for working with adrenals. Surrender is another one, because so much of the time remember that type A personality, that person that's wound up really tight. Speaking from experience right here, I'm one of those. Surrender is a great oil for me because sometimes I just need to breathe and let things be instead of trying to control everything. I don't know if anybody can give me an amen on here. I may be the only person that is like that, but that's my reality. So the surrender really helps me. So I like putting it over my heart. I like putting it on pulse points, ears, behind my ears, on my wrist, smelling it, all those things, right? And the same thing with hope. Hope is just such a beautiful blend of oils. And when we are really stressed, when we're tired, when we're all those things, and the endocrine system isn't functioning well, we just don't feel good, right? So hope can help give us hope to move on and do some things different and move out of that space. So I love that. Now I'm going to give you guys a recipe that I really personally, I love to use. And even if you use it, once or twice a week, it's great. So when you, maybe after dinner, if you sit down and you read a book or you watch a television show, great time to do it. Or maybe just when you're getting ready for bed, you can do this. But I love doing this with a warm compress over the adrenals. Are you ready? It's a 1/4 teaspoon of V6, or you could also use Cell Light Magic. That is great because it's already got some oils in it as well as the carrier oils. So remember, V6 is a carrier oil. 3 drops of clove, 4 drops of nutmeg, and 6 drops of rosemary. So you're going to mix that all together, and then you would just rub that, over your adrenals and put a warm compress. So you could literally just have a warm, damp towel and just sit with it for, 20 minutes or so. And it's really rejuvenating to those adrenals. So 1/4 teaspoon of V6 or Cell Light Magic, 3 drops of clove, 4 drops of nutmeg, and 6 drops of rosemary. Easy peasy, right? It's kind of like, it's just kind of like a little, I almost wanted to say a mask, but it's not really. But you know how we do that with our face? Like we put on a face mask to just kind of refresh things and be able to get rid of the old skin cells and all that. It's the same kind of thing with the adrenals. So we're just kind of nourishing them, loving them a little extra, and that extra warmth compress will help do that. Okay, so I encourage you to get into your reference guide and look up adrenals, because you know what? You're going to get a lot of really good information. I hope that everybody has one of these. If you don't, then check with whoever invited you so you can make sure that you have one. I don't even know, I'd be so lost if I didn't have my reference guide to look things up in. Emotions, all the stuff, right? Just look it up and it'll give me lots of ideas. So I want to thank you guys for joining me to talk about adrenals tonight. Appreciate all of you.